Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show, rated the #1 most listened to podcast on Pluto. So join us now as we discuss news, politics, current events, and so much more. So clear the airways and strap in as we defend the Constitution. Because freedom matters.
We are broadcasting live from the Cottage Studio. You can check out my website, thehohoshow.com. I'm all over the place on social media, and a proud member of Weaponized Sloth Productions. So welcome to the Ho-Ho Show, and as always, I am your host. And if you guys would like to follow along with the madness, you guys can head on over to thehohoshow.com. Just click on that newsfeed tab at the upper right-hand portion of the screen, and there you'll see my magazine on Flipboard, my go-to hub, my one-stop shop for anything, everything, and all things news. Oh, yeah, guys. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, Spreaker. Welcome, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and Mixer. How y'all's doing? Hope you guys are doing good. I really do. And yes, I do know that I am late. Normally, I'd start at 7. But, of course, I'm also, like, a day early. Yeah, because normally it'd be Friday. But, unfortunately, I got to be heading up for Canada tomorrow morning. So I'm excited about that. Going to head on up to where it's cold, heading over to Western Canada, Manitoba and whatnot. And Mr. Vacker over there in Facebook land, good to see you, sir. He says, hey, Home Fry. That's right, man. How you doing? So we've got, some stuff to discuss. We've got some stuff to talk about. And one of these items that we're going to discuss is it's a little on the close to home side, okay? Now, guys, I am an animal lover. I mean, I love animals. Cats, dogs, horses, cows, goats. Ferrets. There's others in there, squirrels. Y'all seen that little part of the video. And Mr. Vacker, the other Mr. Vacker. Hello, or at least another Mr. Vacker. Hello over there in YouTube land, Gavin. You're amazing. So, yeah. So, I mean, I like animals, guys, Now, I do have a problem when it comes to animals. And that is, I'm allergic. Like I'm quite allergic. I have, not like a bad allergy, but it's like itchy, watery eyes, runny nose, whole 9 yards. Man, we had a cat. And this cat just holy crap. She pretty well suffered from dry skin, and she would get up in my face and mark me as her territory. I was hers. I belonged to her. She wasn't my cat. I was her human. Okay. She'd get up in my face, mark my territory, and she knew when I was about ready to sneeze because that's when she would jump down. So she'd rub my face 3 or 4 different times, and then I'd have a sneezing fit. She'd jump down, and then after my sneezing fit, she'd hop back up on me, and eventually I got to the point where I just like hold her in front of my face. It's like, if you're going to make me do this, and you know what you're doing, you're suffering the consequences of your actions. And then I'd hold her and then sneeze all up in her face, and then she'd go down and kind of recover and jump up and do it again. And eventually she would quit. But, we play this game quite often. She liked doing that to me for some reason. I don't know why. And I like sneezing in her face too. I was like, it's your fault I'm doing this. You're suffering. So, and a little of this story has to do with self-defense. Okay. Cause that's a self-defense part in the description that you would check out over in, Spreaker. And of course I'll have to add that in as an afterthought over there on YouTube. So what happened was, buddy of mine, not mentioning any names, but I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm talking about this on the show because this is irritating to me. And we'll get as to why. And then there's also another gun related thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but let's stay on point. Okay. So he had issues with a couple dogs from one of the people that lived in the neighborhood around him. Okay. And at one particular point in time, these dogs had come over and they basically they pinned him in his garage. They had, and this wasn't the first time he had issues with these dogs. But they pinned him like in the back corner of his garage and wouldn't let him leave. Wouldn't let him go nowhere, you know. He had his phone on him. He called the cops. Cops come over, and the dogs didn't like the cop either. So the dogs are harassing the cop too. And it's like, okay. Well, these dogs are a nuisance. We've known this, that we've had several calls on these dogs, and, you know, they are a nuisance. This is a bad deal. You know, it's like, we don't like this, you know, and why nothing had happened at this point, I have no idea. I have no clue, you know, why nothing was done, why the pound wasn't notified, animal control, why nobody was notified and the dogs removed. I have no idea, because they were supposed to have been. There's details in there that I'm not going to talk about, but yes, they were supposed to have been, but they weren't. And so a few days ago, something happened. His mom and his sister is outside. The dogs come up and very aggressive towards his mom, towards his sister. So he goes outside. You know, he comes back in, he grabs his gun, he goes outside, and he yells at the dog loud enough for the owners of the dogs to, if they were outside, to come over and get their dogs. Now look, he has no idea what these dogs want to do. You know, they're being aggressive. They could turn at any time. And who knows, once they take a bite, maybe they'll like some more. He doesn't know. So to protect himself, unfortunately, he has to shoot the dog. And hello, Bacon Boomstick. What's up, man? How you doing? Good morning over there in Mixer Land. Your name is amazing. It's awesome. So that's what happens, okay? And, you know, he ends up, like, right after the incident, he calls up the cops, and he's like, okay, so, I just shot a dog, you know, come on out. You know, the situation, you know, I don't want to say it escalates in there, because cops really didn't do anything about it, because it was like, okay, the dog's a nuisance, many reports on this, you know, you're not more or less in trouble from us. However, the district attorney may have something, or the state's attorney may have something different on this. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see what happens. And I'm like, this is kind of bogus, you know, because I guess one of the things that was, you know, a word or a phrase that was getting thrown around on this was reckless discharge of a firearm, because in this town, you know, you're not supposed to discharge your gun within city limits. And as far as I know, I think most towns kind of have that. You know, they really don't want people using their yards as a firing range. And let's be honest, that's more or less why those type of laws exist. You know, it's not so people can't defend themselves. It's so they don't just go outside and start shooting at a target in their backyard. You know, they don't want the noise pollution. You know, they don't want that. And of which case, on that aspect, within city limits, okay, that's fine. That makes sense. You know, I mean, we wouldn't want that, of course, you know, so I'm at least okay with that. All right. So that's more or less what happened. And it's like, dude, okay. So you're going to claim reckless discharge of a firearm. It's like, dude, he defended himself. One shot. He didn't kill the dog. Now, guys, look, okay. Like I said, I'm an animal lover. He's an animal lover too. You know, he rescues animals. He's rescued dogs. Okay. Don't put too heavy of an emphasis on this, but he wouldn't have felt near as bad if he would have shot a person. You know, the dog is just another victim on this, you know, because the dog is only reacting to how he was trained, how he was brought up, how he was treated. A dog is a mirror reflection of his owner. There's no such thing as a bad dog, only bad owners. You know, I'm a firm believer in that. You know, now don't go and try to twist this as to, oh, well, people are just, you know, they're just victim of how they're brought up too. And no. Shush your face. No. We are reasoning beings. Yeah. We're supposed to think our way through and out of a bad situation so we don't do something stupid like killing somebody. We're creatures of reason. I hate it whenever people like to throw that whole, I couldn't help myself because I forgot to take my medication. No. If you did forget, regardless of that, you chose to forget, and you're just using this as a cop-out in order to try to get out of the negative repercussions from your behavior, and of which case, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me at all. But anyway, this dog was just a victim of how his owner treated him. Okay, so I don't blame the dog in this. But unfortunately, the dog did get put down because of, the wound. He was shot in the shoulder, But the ridiculous aspect of this was, you've got the town cops that were like, we're not going to do anything about this. You're clear on as far as we're concerned, Mr. Conley over there in Facebook land. How you doing? And Mr. Bandy over there in Facebook land too. Good to see you guys over there. Thank you for tuning in. And Bacon Boomstick said, thank you very much. Yeah, because that name is it's Bacon Boomstick, man. Come on. How more amazing is that? It's just the best name ever. Anyway, so the cops were like, okay, look, the dogs were a nuisance. You kind of did us a favor. Thank you. Now we're going to have to worry about these dogs harassing other people because they harass other people. They get out all the time. They harass other people. Enough said. The cops were like, you're fine. You're fine. And of which case for me, I'm like, that's kind of cool because you have the cops basically saying that this never should have escalated to this point, guys. And that's kind of my point on this. This never should have escalated that much. These dogs should have been dealt with accordingly a long freaking time ago. When the owners know that your dogs are aggressive and a nuisance to other people, then you really should do something to control your dogs. He did what he had to. He protected his family. If it was just him, nothing probably would have happened. If it was just him outside. It's like, okay, I'll deal with you. But he was protecting his mom. He was protecting his sister. Well, okay, he was protecting his mom. It kind of surprised me that he stood between the dog and his sister. That kind of surprised me. They don't have the greatest of, it's still family, but, come on, guys. Mom, okay, yeah, I can understand now. And you ain't attacking my mama. But you're saying, come on, your sister, and that actually didn't even come from me. That came from somebody else. So Mr. Howard over there in Facebook land, how you doing, sir? Good to see you, sir. So, yeah, it was a bad thing all the way around, And since we're on the topic of guns, all right, since we're there, let's just kind of continue in that frame of mind because, guys, I live in the great state of Illinois. I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I live in the great state of Chirac. Well, Chirac is in, Callinois or, there's so many different names. It's, the Midwest version of California. It's a great state. Here we have what's called an FOID card, Firearm Owner's Identification Card. And, let's just say this whole thing is being attacked. Okay, firearms in general in the state of Illinois are under attack. And guys, if you live in Illinois, please, at least if you are in my shoes and have a similar type, and have a similar type of goings-ons, definitely, guys, be aware. Okay, so this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Steve says, I hear. And he also says, I agree. And yeah, something should have been done about them dogs a long time ago. Absolutely, no doubt about it. So, my FOID card expired. Well, okay, you guys remember me a while back ago telling you about another guy that I knew who was former military, got into a fight whenever he was over there, afterwards had gotten his FOID card. Now his Ford card is up for renewal. He applied, and then they were like, no, we're going to deny you your Ford card because you got into a fight a long freaking time ago, even though you've since had since gotten your Ford card. Yeah, we know this makes no sense, but this is what we're going to do. Now we get into what happened to me. I applied, like over a month ago for my renewal, paid my $10, another $1 processing fee, gave him that stuff, whole thing, good to go. Bam. I expired, a week ago. Still nothing. I checked the website, still under review. Come to find out, a lot of people are having this issue. A lot of people think about this. 10 years ago, what was going on? 2009. What was that? Obama, former President Obama getting elected. Yeah, that's what was going on. So you missed me by like 2 minutes today. Oh, yeah, Princess. Yeah, you did, man. You left just a little bit too early, Mr. Bandy. So anyway, so that's when I got my FOID card, and probably in the grand state of Illinois, that's when quite a few people around in that same time frame got their FOID cards. So here we are, 10 years later, and they've basically put a freeze on anybody getting an FOID card. It gets better. As soon as you apply for your renewal, your current FOID card, no matter whether it's still valid or not until the whatever date it's supposed to be valid till, they kill the number. Gone. Shut down. You can't use it. You apply for your renewal, you can no longer, your current FOID card is no longer valid. But wait, there's more. You'd think that there would be a 1-800 number you can call. You can talk to somebody and you can say, what's up? What's going on? Why can't why are you guys still processing? What's going on? Well, unfortunately, you call this number, what happens? Oh, dude, guys, we're experiencing extremely high call volume. We can't do anything about it right now. I apologize. Try calling back. Click. Not even a, we'll put you in line, we'll call you back at this number or whatever you would rather have, and then you get a phone call back at you. No. It's a, we're experiencing high call volume. Click. Nothing. Try calling back. Nobody is able to get through to find out what the heck's going on. Nobody. And like I said, there's basically a freeze right now. I just read that comment. Bacon Boomstick. He goes no bacon for them. Exactly, dude. No bacon for them. That's ridiculous. I'm prior military of 8 years, and any kind of licensing here in California is just ridiculous to get it as well. Yeah, I'm not surprised, man. And my buddy that I was talking to that had this problem with him getting his revoked, I was like, dude, it's like, you understand what's going on, right? They don't want you to be a legal gun owner. You're former military. You took an oath of office. You took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. You're one of the people they don't want to have a firearm legally. He's like, I'm like, yeah. I mean, you're one of the people. It's like, dude, I mean, you're more trained than most anybody I know. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to handle that gun. I'm sure you do too. But unfortunately, oh no. We don't want you to have a gun. So that's what's going on here in the great state of Illinois. It's a backdoor way to basically take your guns away. Now I was talking about this earlier today too, because it was like, in Illinois, we were like the last state to do anything about concealed carry, and unfortunately, the powers that be, the Supreme Court told the people in Illinois, it's like, hey, look, you guys got to do something about this. You're the last state to do anything about concealed carry. Everybody else has something with this. It's time you guys fall in line. Get something done. Here's your deadline. If you don't get anything done by then, it's constitutional carry in your state, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, here's the thing, guys. Why is that even a thing? Because last time I checked, the Constitution says, the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So why is there even anything other than Second Amendment? And that Second Amendment doesn't grant me the right to keep and bear arms. The most important aspect of that amendment is the shall not be infringed. It shouldn't even be a thing. So, and of course, just like in great fashion, Illinois, they did everything that they were supposed to. They got something on the books. They got the whole thing figured out. It was great. It was amazing. It was grand. And they did that within the timeline. Oh, wait. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They couldn't make up their mind what they wanted to do because you had entire red state that had 3 blue cities. One of these blue cities being Chicago, and of which case they don't really like guns in Chicago, and they really wanted to figure out a way that they can kind of keep people in Chicago under the heavy hand of government while still being able to have it kind of laxed a little bit for the rest of the state where it's not really an issue. Yeah. I mean, finally, they did come up with something. They got to figure it out. We now have concealed carry. We got it now, so that's grand. But now it's well, we're not going to let you get your FOID card. And of which case, you can't have a FOID card. Well, now your concealed carry is no longer valid. A lot of other things are invalid. I know people that have for their job, And now, if this is what they do, how are they going to keep their job? How are they going to be able to pull in that money? And that's the thing, you guys want guards, places, armed. I mean, my assumption is they'll do some type of background check. Where do you work? Okay, yeah, you can have a gun. But, if you don't work in that type of a field, in that type of area, if you're not that kind of a person, I have a feeling you're going to have a really hard time getting your FOID card removed, being able to still be able to. Mr. Vacker says, California. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating what they're doing now. I mean, it really is. It's frustrating, guys. I mean, it really is. It's frustrating. And I told my buddy and guys, okay, let me be clear on this. Okay. If your FOID card is, you live in the grand state of Illinois and you are a gun supporter, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, just hide your gun. They can't return a phone call. They can't answer your call to answer a question on why they are behind on these renewals, but I guarantee you they'll send an officer out there that once it expires that you shouldn't have this, and now you do have legal problems, So, yeah. Armed security offer. I hate that. We are going to have issues. Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right, Mr. Vacky. You are definitely going to be having issues, And welcome, Lancastrian 1972. Did I say that right? Lancastrian? Lancastrian? Never mind. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, Mr. Vacker over there in Facebook land. I really don't think that you may have issues on that. Like I said, I mean, that might be something that they just kind of like, okay, we kind of want you to have this. And people in that type of a situation, it might be overlooked and expedited. But, even still, don't hold your breath. But, that might be something, or how they do it. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Either way you look at it, I'm iffy. Either way, I'm iffy. Either way, I'm kind of like, this is throwing up warning bells in my brain. My brain is going, is doing that. I don't like it very well. So guys, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. Yes, we are. And when I return, we're going to talk about something that's like, okay, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but we're going to talk about Miss Luna. Luna? Yeah. We're going to talk about Luna. This is one of them stories that really irks me, and I consider it more along the lines of child abuse. But we're going to get into that here in just a couple minutes. I'll be right back. welcome. Welcome. And yes, we are back. Now, guys, this story... And Mr. Howard, you're right. He's like, I don't know about this story, but I think he's going to snap. And you know what? You're probably right. About to dump Starks before he gets back. Maybe. When it comes with a warning, is going to happen. Yeah, you got that right. I try to keep people warned, you know. And by the way, this segment is brought to you by Depends. Because you're going to be triggered. Or maybe brought to you by guns because you're going to be triggered. I don't know. Either way you look at it. Or you're just going to laugh so hard you pee yourself. Either way, I don't know. It's bound to happen. So, guys, this story goes back a little bit. And I don't know how much you guys have kind of been hearing about this. But, you know, there's this kid, okay? And basically, he says to his mom, 7-year-old boy, he goes, I like girls. Yeah. He thinks of himself as this star child. That's the new name he wants to call himself, which is like a cartoon superhero person. I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff. And you know, who's your favorite or Disney person? And it's Elsa from Frozen or Elsie from Frozen or you know, the frozen chick that's frozen and she's cold. And it's like, you're her, you know, it's like, okay. So you're going to transition then, you know, so you obviously are transgender now. So now you're going to be a little girl, you know, and we're going to transition you, you know. So, I mean, you know, you're adult enough at 7 to go ahead and decide you want to be a girl, but, you know, you can't pick your name, though, because that star child, that's just way too. You may change your mind about that later on in life. We're going to go into the transgender dictionary thing and see what cool names are up. Luna. We'll call you Luna. How's that sound? Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, fine. Now you're Luna. You can't be star child. How's Donald Trump in your state? Like I said, you know, this entire state is red across the board. You know, we only have 3 blue areas, 3 Democratic areas. I'm sorry, you may not understand the red and blue. I forgot that you're across the pond. You know, over here in Illinois, we are very pro, you know, President Donald Trump. Definitely pro President Donald Trump, except for 3 areas, and that's Chicago, Peoria, and Champaign. You know, the bigger cities in the state. And of course, you know, they're Democrat. You know, they're, you know, more liberal states or areas, you know. So, yeah, we're pretty pro President Donald Trump over here on at least in the rest of the state, you know. So back to the story. Now, you know, so like the ridiculous aspect though is like, okay, so he's talking about this, and of which case, well, yeah, okay, it's fiction. You know, it's a song that he likes, a tunage or whatever, you know, a special powers that the star child has that he digs and he likes, and it's amazing. And, you know, he liked Oh, okay, that's my watch going off over in the other room. Sorry. I had to pause because it was like, what am I hearing in my ears? Okay, I got it. We're good. So, but it gets better, actually, because his mom is like, you know, social justice warrior about this very thing, you know? So now she's like, I've always wanted a transgender, and now I got one that's interested in girl stuff, so it's obviously got to be a girl. So in her presence, he's a girl. He's Luna. But in his dad's presence, he's a boy. And he's perfectly happy being a boy. Now, you guys may have even heard the recording about this, you know, because he, you know, the father, because, you know, the husband and the wife, they're divorced, you know, they're separated. And it's like, you know, I'm a girl. Oh, well, who told you you're a girl? Mommy did. Oh, so basically wasn't even his idea that he was a girl. It's like, yeah, I like girls, So you must be a girl, because I guess whenever I was 7, girls had cooties, and it's like, no. So apparently, since he likes girls, he must be one. So yeah. Now, here's where it gets definitely frustrating for me, because this is so stinking ridiculous. Thing ends up going to court, okay? Because the mom's like putting him in school, dressing him up as a girl in school, changes her official name. I don't want to say legal name, but her official name in school to Luna. And it's like, it's ridiculous, Yeah. The whole 9 yards. And he's like, no. She's even talking about chemical castration. Like, already. He's 7. And she's talking about permanently altering the body chemistry. Permanently. It's like, this is ridiculous. No. Have some common sense. And the doctors are all like, yeah, okay, why not? If he says he's a girl, then treat him as a girl. Dude, what are you nuts? And the dad, of course, does not want any of this going on. And basically what they do in court is but the father, he doesn't want this going on. He doesn't want this at all. He is like, dude, he's perfectly happy being his actual name. I don't remember what his name is now. James, So James is like, he's perfectly happy being a boy around his dad, wants to please his mom. So he's Luna around mom. And now the article that I had pulled up a couple days ago, is this. 7-year-old whose mother tried to force a gender transition chooses to attend school as a boy. And of course, I was just like, that's funny, slap in the face to mom, but again, I mean, this whole thing, and this is where it irritated me, because the dad was treated as a third rate, a third rate person in this whole, parenting thing, oh, mom knows best. And the dad was given a gag order that he couldn't talk about this, that there was nothing he can do. He couldn't go public. He couldn't go on a talk show and talk about it. He couldn't plead his case to anybody. The dad was told basically to sit down, shut up, and just accept what's going to happen. That if he wants to be James around you and Luna around her, then that's fine. But you can't change what the mom is doing, and you really have no say in this. It's like, okay, they halfway sided with him, but still at the same time, it was like, you gag order. You can't talk about this. You can't plead your case. You can't try to, swing public opinion. This whole thing is outside of your control. Just let it be, Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. Barmaid, I need a stronger beer. Yeah, and that's why this whole thing, I mean, it irritates me. It's like, okay, one, he's 7. What does he know about sexuality? At 7, I mean, really, what do you know about that? You don't know what a transgender is. You don't know what any of that kind of crap is. You're basically hand-fed all that stuff, and it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, at least wait until he gets into puberty and then he can kind of figure out where he stands on it. But at 7 years old, it's like, are you kidding me? Chemical castration. Talking about actually going through and doing hormone therapy, chemical castration. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? To a 7-year-old boy that doesn't know anything about anything. He barely, no, I'm not going there. I'm not saying that. We're moving on. What? No, thanks. Get off of there. I hate pop-ups. I really do. We're moving on. All right, guys, let's go into that whole whistleblower thing, okay? So I'm sure you guys have heard about this. I mean, who has not heard about anything about this whistleblower, anything about this whole Impeachment Gate? I'm sure everybody is aware, for the most part, of what's going on. All right. So And you guys have heard me talk about on previous episodes where it's like, okay, well, you've got, all these guys, if they were actually serious about doing this, they would actually have a vote to make this whole impeachment inquiry official. Nancy Pelosi finally did that. Okay. Now here's the thing that was irritating about this vote. See, one of the things that she talked about was that we are not going to go through with this unless this is a bipartisan decision, because it would look really bad for Democrats if it wasn't bipartisan, that it would tear the country in half. It would just divide us, that it would look nothing more than a political hack job, and we don't want to have anything to do with that. So upon that, they took their vote. The results of that vote were pretty clear as to what was actually going on. Of all the Democrats that were in these three committees that were part of this original closed-door session, every one of them but two voted in favor of the impeachment inquiry. So two voted against. There was one independent who was previously a Republican, but he changed his, party status and is now an independent, and he voted in favor of the inquiry. Zero. Not even one Republican voted in favor of the impeachment inquiry. Not even one. Not even one said, yeah, we need to do this. Because even then, at the time, it was pretty clear what was going on. Now, Nancy Pelosi, did she follow through with her word? Did she follow through with what she said she was going to do? Did she actually pull in the reins and stop the horses from moving forward? Because this is clearly a political hack job. This is clearly a one-sided Democrats just wanting to do nothing more than get rid of the sitting president. Did she stop? No, she did not. She's like, okay, we're going to make this look even worse, because now we obviously are doing a big old huge political hack job on the president, but now we're going to make it worse, because now everything that happens has to go through crotch sniff shift. I love that term, but apparently it didn't want to come out of my mouth, Mr. Vacker. I love that. That comes from Brandon, of the host of the Machine Radio Show, crotch sniff shift. I can't say that. I can't say that fast at all. I'll just call him Schiff. Shit Schiff. That's a good one. It works. So yeah, him. Everything, every question, and they even said that, these guys can only talk about, 2 or 3 things. That's one of the articles that's in here. They can only talk about 2 or 3 things, and that's it. Any person that the Republicans bring up to talk about, it's the question, they have to be approved by Schiff. The questions have to be approved by Schiff. They don't even want, and this is a violation of the 6th Amendment, and this is something that Senator Rand Paul talks about, that they're even taking away President Trump's 6th Amendment right, saying, and they're saying that, the 6th Amendment isn't relevant in a case like this. He doesn't have the right to cross-examine. He doesn't have the right to talk to this guy. And what the heck, he doesn't have the right to do that. Now, of course, the Democrats, they're still wanting to keep the identity of the original whistleblower confidential. Mr. Bacon Boomstick's got to do a quick errand. And Mr. Koontz, how you doing over there in Facebook land? That's awesome to see you over there, sir. And he says it's a coup. And yeah, you're absolutely right. This is something that, came out, that was even talked about, brought up on the news back in January of 2017. 2016? 2017. I've got that article in here too. I do. And of course, if you guys want to check out those articles, you can head on over to thehoshow.com. Just click on that newsfeed tab, and there you'll see the magazine on Flipboard. And of which case, you can do that right after the show, because I forgot to put that thing on there before the show started, because I have idiot moments sometimes. But yeah, it's a coup. They've talked about this. They have talked about this being a coup. Several reports dating back to 2017 that, this is a coup. But they do not want the whistleblower's name to be released. In fact, there's even an article that I have that Facebook had removed some posts that released or supposedly released the name of the whistleblower in those posts. Those got deleted. Those got taken down. Those got removed. It's like, oh, okay. So were they doing the whole, we got to, oh yeah, there's that thing. Let me pull that up. This is from Fox News. Coup has started, whistleblower's attorney said in 2017, post calling for impeachment. So yeah, it's a coup. They used the words. They used the words. And this one, I think it was even kind of funny because, he even used the word coup. This isn't, yeah. Sometimes, sometimes. Sometimes I forget things. Not all the times. I don't have Alzheimer's. I have sometimers. That's what my dad called it. That's what my dad called it. He called it sometimers, not Alzheimer's. July of 2017. No, that was never their first one. The first came out in January 2017. Yeah, there we go. The coup has started. That's what the guy said. So anyway, yeah, you guys can check that out over on the website and find that out. Let me find my place again because I totally lost it. At the house. This reminded me of something. You're going to get a story. You're going to get a bonus story. So in my mama's house, I was over at my mama's house, and I was in the hallway. And in the hallway, mama's got a plaque on the wall in the hallway. And on this plaque is words, and those words said, "Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most." And I'm standing there in the hallway, and I'm just looking at it, staring at it, reading it, reading it, and then reading it again, and then repeating it. And then repeating it again and repeating it in my head. And then my mama walks by and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I pointed up at the plaque and I'm like, "Mama, you can't lose something you've never had." Oh, she about hit me. She about beat me. Deservingly. You don't lip off to mama. At least you don't do it whenever you're within reach. And I was too close. I acknowledge that. I was too close to mama. Mama's going to beat me. I deserved it. So anyway, all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. So now they've come up, now they finally voted on it. They've got the thing moving forward. They have, everything that's going to be going through Schiff before anything really gets done, anything official gets done. And they want you to believe that this isn't any more than a coup, that this isn't any more than a political hack job, that they are just doing this out of the kindness of their hearts to let the American people know what kind of a person President Trump is. Yeah. That's what's going on here. Obviously. That's obviously what's going on here. Forget the fact that the people that were in these three committees, only the Democrats were voting for it. And not even all the Democrats, 2 of them voted against it. And none of the Republicans voted in favor. And this isn't a political hack job. Not at all. This isn't politically motivated because the Democrats don't have anybody in the field that they think could actually take out President Trump. No. None of that's relevant. No. This is about quid pro quo. This is about tit for tat. This is about give and take. That's what this is about. There was no quid pro quo. We don't like President Trump. Okay. Exactly. Well, let's see. I know I've got something else in here I was wanting to bring up. Oh, yeah, I do. Because there was something that happened. We're going to jump into the border wall because there was something that happened down in Mexico. Okay, and this was, it was a bad story. It really was. But before we get into this, we're going to take one more quick break. It's going to be the last one. We got one more thing to talk about, and we're going to, I went to the wrong screen, and that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about. What song am I going to bring up? Ooh, let's do this one. Yeah. Just a couple minutes, guys, and I will be right back. Yeah. right, welcome back. And so, all right, guys, this article is another one. Is another one. And this could almost be carried away, or carried, not carried away, but kind of related to a conversation that we had with one of the listeners a couple days ago. All right. We're going to talk about the border crisis, because this article this one came out of Business Insider, the brutal ambush of 9 American Mormons in Mexico is part of a surge of violence that could propel a new crisis at the U.S. border. Now, if you guys are not aware of what happened, I'm not going to get into the details, because I'll tell you guys what, the graphic, okay, what happened, how these 9 American Mormons were killed, it is brutal. I mean, dude, this is brutal. This is stuff you would find in a nice horror movie. Okay, I mean, it was brutal what happened. You know, it truly was, you know, very, very bad. You know, it was cartel related, okay? And here's why I bring this up. There's only basically 2 ways that you can look at this, okay? It's either you give them the military aid, as in Mexico, you give them the military aid that they're kind of crying for, or you build the wall. So it's either sending troops down there to take care of the problem, try to get rid of the cartel, or you build that wall. And some may even say with this, and I mean, it's an escalating thing, guys, okay? I mean, we've got, you know, human trafficking. You got, you know, gang members going across the border. I mean, you've got all kinds of things just going across the border all willy-nilly, you know, and here's an example of just how lawless some areas in Mexico can be, that they are controlled by the cartel. You know, the federal government really doesn't have anything to do with it unless they're people who are basically related to, well, not related to the cartel, but, you know, in cahoots with the cartel. It's bad down there, guys. I mean, it really is. Don't believe me. I mean, there's all kinds of reports that you guys can go to some of the bordering cities and the bordering places and find out what's going on the border. And I'm just going to keep waving my hand like this because I think it's kind of fun. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, all kinds of violence. All right. It is bad down there. Okay. And you're going to tell me that we don't need to protect our southern border? We absolutely do. You know, we absolutely do. We need to do something about this. We absolutely do. Okay. And here's one of the things that, you know, and again, kind of going back to a previous conversation I had with another listener a couple days ago on the show, we were talking about amnesty. They voted on this and talked about this a while back ago. Okay. This is something that whenever President Reagan was president, I didn't do a very good job saying that. When Reagan was president, okay, there was a quid pro quo that happened. Okay. Now, just so you guys know, quid pro quo, that's kind of how politics happens. There ain't nothing wrong with quid pro quo. Quid pro quo is simply you scratch my back, I scratch yours. In this particular case, it was, if you give us amnesty, we will give you a wall. We will give you a wall on that southern border. You give us what we want, we will give you what you want. That's called compromise. That's called quid pro quo. That's called tit for tat. That's the way it's done. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. Okay? Now, President Reagan was like, I don't really like this whole amnesty thing, but you know what? If you got to give a little to get a little, then okay. I guess I'll go ahead and let you guys have amnesty. Okay. And then they approved the wall. They did a whole thing on, budgeting for it. And it was like, how much is it going to cost? Well, we think it's going to cost this much. And it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be grand. It's going to be great, nice, beautiful, amazing wall. This is what we're going to do. And it was like, okay. And then they were like, okay, now we got some plans for this wall. I think we should go ahead and get started on this wall. We just need you to write the check for the wall. Now, granted, they passed a bill. President signed the bill. They approved in that bill the funding for the wall. And then whenever time came for Congress to write the check so that this way they can get going on the wall, Congress said, nah, fooled you. We ain't doing this. We don't really want a wall. We got what we want. Why should we give you what you want? It didn't work out in our best interest. Not at all. And that's part of the reason why, President Trump now was like, amnesty, wall. He said, no. Y'all's played this game already. You all's won. The American people lost. And the funny thing is, too, one of the people that was looking into designs for the wall was like, we can do it cheaper now than what was originally budgeted for way back in President Reagan's, time. That we can actually do it cheaper now than what we could have back then. And it's like, dude, that's actually kind of neat. That's amazing. Because there's things going on down there at that southern border. And there was a couple things that I actually did want to bring up, thinking about, gentleman that I was talking with, Mr. Dave Canyon, amazing man. Awesome show. Check that out. Dumbing It Down with Dave. Awesome podcast. You can check that out wherever podcasts are available. And he hosts it out of, where does he host that? Yeah, Spreaker.com. Same place I host mine out of. And I'm looking for an email right quick because I don't want to pull this up into here because since I'm doing this, since I'm doing the show now, it might screw things up and I don't want to do that. So let me get in my email right quick because I had a couple comments that I want to read for you right quick. And this was a comment by the lovely Linda Irwin, awesome person. She got a show out there called Awesome Insanity Surfers. I don't give her enough props. She's an awesome person. She really is. And she said that the adults, because one of the things we were talking about on the show a couple days ago was with amnesty. And I mentioned how just against amnesty I am. For the simple fact is we are a country with laws. And these laws should be followed. And me as an American citizen would be expected and demanded that I follow the law. If I don't follow the law, I have to suffer the consequences, and so should anybody else. Especially and including illegal aliens. And I love it too, because it's like, okay, Chili Fest one year, Mr. Kuntz, you may remember this, but we had, and this was several years back. This was several years back. We had some people come up around the square, around where the Chili Fest was, and they're demanding their equal voice. They're demanding their constitutional right to blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait a second. Wait just a second. You're demanding, constitutional right, of freedom of speech and to peaceably assemble and blah, 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 blah. She's like, I'm like, wait a second. So you're an American citizen? No, but that's why I'm protesting. I go, wait, stop right there, honey. constitutional rights are only granted to citizens. Technically speaking, they are not granted to anybody else. If you are not a citizen, you don't have these constitutional rights. I mean, think about it, guys. I mean, you go over, if this was true, then that would mean that, okay, the humanitarian, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, well, if you're legal, okay. But if you're not a legal citizen, no. But back to the comment, okay? It says the adults who sneak across the border without going through the process should be held accountable. The children of those adults who grew up here and are here through no fault of their own should not be deported, as many are productive citizens. And in which case, I got to be honest with you, Linda, to an extent, I agree with that. I very much do agree with that. Part of that extent is it's like, okay, you got brought here, you didn't come of your own free will, and of which case, okay, sure. But not that you should just flat out be granted amnesty. You should still have to go through the process. And I'm okay with having a lesser financial bearing on that. It should definitely be lesser, but there are some things that you should still 100% have to go through. And part of that is, if you're in school, and if you are learning the Constitution and different things of that nature, learning actual history, not doctrinated history, but you're learning actual history about our founding, our history, our Revolutionary War, those type of things, then yeah, okay, sure. But there still should be a process involved in this. And of which case, like I had said the other day, this should still be something that is done by Congress. And if they believe that this is a problem, and we know that they do, instead of crying for amnesty every so many years, they should really go in there and fix the stinking problem. Because there are people who are crying today about the immigration system being broken that were still around back in Ronald Reagan's day saying the same stinking thing. Why haven't they fixed it between now and then? Quite a few many years have come past, and if they were serious about fixing the problem, it would have been fixed already. That's just what I'm saying. Okay? And that's why it's frustrating to me, because it's like, really? Anyway. So yeah, that's a very good point, Linda. And like I said, for the most part, I do agree with you. For the most part, absolutely. If you were brought here, no fault of your own, then yes, there still should be a process, and you still should have to go through that process. But as far as just a simple deportation, okay, not really, but you have to be willing to go through the process, though. That's kind of a stipulation I would throw in there, because nation of laws is what you got to do. You can't really put that away. And this next one that you threw in here, this one's kind of a long one, and this was another good one, another good comment. This one's kind of a long one. I'm going to go ahead and read it now. Hope you guys are ready for this. Okay. We're talking about the president. We're talking about, I'm not reading. I'm talking. We were talking about the president. We're talking about some of the things that he had done, and, with his record, because I had mentioned that, one of the best things that President Trump can do at this particular point in time, for his campaign is not just talk a bunch of crap, kind of like what he did last time, but actually campaign on his record, and of which case, all said and done, he has a pretty good record. And Linda wrote, you have comments. Now, Linda wrote that, yes, the president has done great things, except for a except for a heavy-handedness in punishing legitimate pain patients by not allowing opioids to be prescribed anymore to those that need it. There has been a spike in suicides among those patients to the point that they now have to invest more money into suicide prevention and awareness programs, especially for veterans, that I have seen. I'm going to take this a little bit different of a position. Liz over there in Facebook land says, nice haircut. Thank you. I got my ears lowered yesterday. Actually, I had the longer hair. It was annoying the crap out of me. It was funny because, when I get a haircut, I treat it like going to a confessional, Bless me, stylist, for I have sinned. It has been 7 months since my last haircut. Mega short. You know, that's how I handle a haircut. And I even told her, I'm like, you know, if you think you've taken too much off or you're taking too much off, don't worry about it. Just take a little bit more. You'll be good. You'll be gold. You know, you'll be gold. But yeah, I'm going to take this back a little bit because I had a buddy of mine who was on, you know, like 6 different, you know, prescriptions. You know, he had back surgery. So he was in back pain. He had, you know, he was a diabetic. So he had, you know, insulin. He had a few other things wrong with him. Let's just put it that way. And him not being able to work, you know, he was on disability. And the great and wonderful Obamacare, you know, they cut his prescriptions down from 6 down to 3. And it was what do I do? I don't remember how much time after that he actually ended up passing away. And I can't really say as if him passing away was due to half his medications being revoked to where he can no longer get them. They were no longer covered on Medicare, you know, no longer covered under his disability. They were taken away from him. And I don't know how directly that related. I do have a buddy of mine that maybe actually knows. Oh, Ray put in there, he goes, I'm eating chocolate cake. I love chocolate cake. You know, speaking of chocolate cake, I got to take a drink of good old Yellow Dye number 5. All right. And this actually is something, Ray, I know that, you know, some of this stuff you know, you definitely keep your hands in it and you know kind of what's going on. But I got to be honest though, I really am not sure what Linda is talking about on here with, you know, punishing legitimate pain patients with that are needing opioid. Now I know that for, you know, several years now that they have really trying to cut back on opioid use, and they're, you know, now I don't know whether this is something that, you know, President Trump had a hand in doing, or if this was somebody else, you know, something else that I don't know. But I mean, I am aware, you know, that they are really trying to get rid of opioids, you know, and, you know, prescribing them everything, you know, they're very much trying to do that. And I do know people out there that, you know, they've tried several different things, and opioids was like basically the only thing that would work, you know? So, I mean, I do know that there's been that type of stuff going on, but I didn't know, you know, I didn't know that President Trump was really involved in removing that and trying to push for opioids to basically be getting rid of. It's definitely something I'm going to have to do some more research on. And thank you very much too for the comment. That's definitely something for me to research and look into. So guys, that's the show. That's what I got. I am taking off tomorrow, heading up to Canada, going up into Manitoba, going up to North Dakota, you know, heading up towards North Dakota part of it. And I will be getting back next week, so the show should be at its regular bat time and regular bat schedule, you know, 7 p.m. next Saturday. And of which case, we're probably going to be talking about gun stuff. We're probably going to be talking about, you know, stuff. We'll be talking about stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time, guys. So I thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all have yourself a wonderful day. Good night. Sleep tight, and if them bed bugs bite, then bite golly, bite them back. Take care, guys. This has been The Ho-Ho Show. For more information, you can head on over to thehohoshow.com. And for all things Weaponized Sloth Productions related, you can head on over to WSPFM.com. Until next time.